Kia ora, thank you. I thought I'd just start today covering some highlights from the report, focusing on some of the good news that's occurred over the month of January. So a few projects that are worth just bringing to your attention. The Littleton Wastewater Treatment Plant is undergoing final commissioning and has removed all the discharge from the harbour, so that's received some positive news coverage in recent weeks. There's been good progress on the Three Waters HDM2 panel procurement process, with contractors appointed and consultants not far off. In the transport area, the Dyers Road guardrail project was completed, the safety improvement project up there, within budget, and a few minor works just left to tidy some things up there. I wanted to draw out that the parks area is going really well overall in terms of delivery management and getting across their program really well. And of course, the Citizens War Memorial associated with that, with the opening the other day, was also some really good news. Of course, Te Kaha's cracking on at pace with some big concrete pours in recent months, but you'll hear more about Te Kaha next month from Te Kaha Project Delivery Limited. So retaining all that good news and positivity, you'll see from the report that the November and December expenditures against forecasts were really strong. They were up around the sort of 100% mark, with or without Te Kaha and Parakuori. I won't go into all the numbers there, but they're all kind of 95 to 109%, depending on which month you look at and whether those are in or out. So that's really, really encouraging. However, we've, in the PMO, kept our forecast for the total program for the core infrastructure at 390. We took a view at the end of the year, the half year, end of December, where we see overall that the program's at 41%. So if you're straight line extrapolating, you might expect it to be 50. So a bit off the mark based on earlier performance in the year, earlier expenditure. And we always go into a bit of a dip in January, which we've now seen as well. February will be telling in terms of how we track towards the end of the year. So we're sort of cautiously optimistic from a PMO level around that 390 level, and we take a view on that based on past performance and the overall program view, rather than every individual aggregated project manager's forecast. So we're reasonably confident on that figure, to within a plus or minus a few percent probably, as we look towards the end of the year. So just quickly going into each of the service areas, some key points from there. With Three Waters, some really good work done in that area, with the forecast going up a little bit from previous month, up a few million. The consent environment, for particularly around stormwater stuff, does remain challenging, but the team's doing some good work there with ECAN and lots of dialogue there around sort of navigating some of those challenging issues. I'll speak a little bit more about Cyclone Gabriel at the end, because that's quite relevant around Three Waters. In transport, there's still a bit too much what I'll call optimism bias in the aggregated forecasts there with the PMs, and that's particularly an area where we have lowered our total program forecast. So those in that area, the forecast moved down 14 million across from month to month. There is some good opportunity ahead with the seasonal, reseals and so forth, the ongoing in-flight cycleway program, and Hallsville Junction Road, some of those larger projects. So there's opportunity for, for catch up and some better progress against expenditure in the coming months, provided the weather and everything else remains kind. And I've mentioned parks and OARC particularly together are showing really strong performance through some good program management and project delivery there, so they're going well. So a couple of comments overall. With Cyclone Gabriel, as I wrote this report, the eyes were on Auckland at the time, and the days that followed saw the event unfolding a lot more widely. So as people sort of get a handle on the effects of that and the assessment of the damage, we kind of see that the millions are growing to billions. And so what does that mean for us? Initially, we've sort of taken a view that as long as we keep planning and talking with our partners in the industry, contractors and consultants, and keep the communication up around what we've got ahead of us, we wouldn't expect to see a huge impact on the resources available to us to deliver our program. Obviously acknowledging that, where greater national needs exist, then priorities must be put in the right place, and I'm sure, as we all understand and know from our own experiences, we'd be first to support those efforts of recovery, even if it was at the expense of some of our work. So I think communication is the key. In that sense, we've got we're planning another industry forum with contractors and consultants in about a month's time after the draft annual plans endorsed and developed. We'll be talking about that and keeping close to those suppliers about the potential effects of that. So that's about it. Thanks, Sam. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer.
Thank you. No, that's a really useful presentation. I guess the only one I had, but you've covered most of it, is around just that deliverability for year end. But what I took from it is you're going to have another look next month.
Yeah.
When actually we've been back up and running for the year.
Some,
just to make sure it's
February
realistic.
actuals come through. Yep.
Perfect. Yep. Pauline.
Yeah, sorry for being on. Lynette, just asking about Kiwi Rail. I see in here we say that the interface has improved. But what does that actually mean? Are we able to proceed with the work on the Northern Line and Hallswell Junction Road? Have we overcome that, or is it still a work in progress?
And Andrew needs some company.
Yeah, come on.
The Key Rail working relationship is ongoing, and we are working hard with Key Rail to keep that online. We have some agreements in place. We have a overarching agreement in place for works, so a standard set of terms and conditions that we're going to work with from a contract perspective. That's just been signed with Kiwi Rail, so that is a positive. That's really positive, in fact.
Yeah.
That slows down that speeds up the engagement process. We are moving ahead with physical works are happening on Hallswell Junction Road, which has been a big one that's been on the cards for a number of years.
Yeah.
Ex-Councillor Chen will be glad to hear that, and I'm sure Councillor Peters will be equally as glad to hear that. The Northern Line work is progressing in parts, yes, so what I can say really deliberately is the teams are working together to find ways to get work done, and they're moving forward in that regard.
Right. Thank you.
Great. Jan.
Thank you. I just had a question on page 108 of the report, and I was just trying to understand. You're showing the craft projects, particularly for the Linwood and Woolston, as being having a green light. You're saying that we're forecast to spend all the money, and we've only spent $200,000 in 12 months, and we're still in investigation phase. So is there any greater visibility we can get around progress on those projects? And are we able to individually list the projects so we can see what's happening with each one? Because I just don't know how we can have confidence when we've got so little expenditure that they're going to be met, particularly with the optimism that you referred to before.
Yep, I'm happy to cover that. So what we've done, this is not a CRAF report, this is a capital delivery overall program report, but we've been requested to put this watch list in for the CRAF projects, and we've done that at a program level for the CRAF program. So you'll appreciate that each of those headings basically has a bunch of projects under it, some of them sort of like 8 to 12 projects supporting each of these one line lists in the watch list. So we have to take a kind of overall view on it. So we're presenting the total budget for that program piece that's attached to each of the particular areas. And when we look at the milestones, we sort of have to take the furthest out date to get a light one way or another. We do say at the top, and this is a undertaking that Lynette's taking on board, is regular updates to the community boards. We'll dive into the detail a little bit more. and more detailed 6 monthly progress updates to both the council and through Treasury, and the next one's lined up for March. So I think there's an opportunity for getting into the detail a little bit more in those future briefings that don't really, it's not really quite the place at this level of reporting to get into those detailed line by line craft projects that are under each of the program level ones. So more to come in other forums.
So sorry, if I just look at the Linwood one, are you saying do you have a high degree of confidence that all those milestones will be met? It's all green lit. There's no amber. There's no red. There's no concern.
You're
And
correct.
12
It's all
months,
you
it's
are
like
correct, Councillor. It's all
300,000.
green.
Right. Okay. So can
Yes,
I not get
yes, we do have confidence. That's why it's reported that way.
right? And so the fact that we haven't even gone up to consultation on any of those, how do we align that with the lack of progress? And we're already a year out in the original delivery date.
Councillor, we've discussed the CREF reports ad nauseum around the table. The decisions for them, and you've had multiple memos regarding this, the decisions for them were finalised late last year. The team set the program up. You've been briefed on that. This report is in line with the program that we've reported to you, and we are moving forward with it.
Probably just to wrap it up, because I get where you're coming from, Yanni, but Lynette has answered the question, which is the point of this report is to report on if they think there are issues. What they're saying at the moment is everything is on track. So you can test it, but they've literally said again, everything is on track. So can we go? Got a question from Tim.
Yeah, thank you. And on page 68, just with under 2, Te Kaha and Parakuri, could we just make sure that with the rescheduling of Parakuri, if we can just be kept abreast of any changes there?
Yeah, Tim, we've asked. There's an action, I think, to get John or whoever the new John is in.
Okay,
So
cool, that's fine.
Yep,
Cool,
great.
thank you. Cheers.
Okay, I think we're
Sorry, Sam. I just had 2 other questions.
okay.
Yeah, just on Parakore, I was just concerned to hear after years of asking if there were any issues with the ground conditions.
Yanni, stop. We're getting them in next month with the. I think John may have left by then, or the new John. Okay, John O'Hagan. So someone will answer that, but the team at the end of the table cannot answer that now.
No, but can they, just when they come back, can we get a really clear understanding?
Yanni, stop. Can you please go to your second question?
Okay. The second question I just wanted to ask was in regards to the delivery around some of the Avano Takaro projects, and I just wanted to check just basically that we're on track. I know in the past we've sort of been told that there was an issue around consenting with ECAN. So I just wanted to check if we've had any further sort of progress around that in terms of global consenting.
Yes, we are on track with all of the projects that Council has approved for delivery. And just as a reminder, and for those that weren't in Council at the time, that's the City to Sea pathway, the Wainoni landing and the associated Flatwater hub, and the Bexley wetland. The Bexley wetland has potential to be impacted by ECAN's consenting position at the moment, but that's probably, in terms of ECAN consenting, one of the easier projects to move forward with. It's a big program that involves naturalising the area directly, I've got to get my bearings right, kind of southeast of Pages Road and that wedge with Anzac Drive. So we're very confident that the projects Council has put into the activity plan for delivery are on track at this point.
Right, thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we've got, no, we don't have a mover for that, but Mel looks like she's happy to move it, and Mark's happy to second it. Any discussion? All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you. Now, before we break for morning tea, I just want to check, does anyone have any questions on the rate debtors, the overdue debtors?